Well, my friends, welcome back to this Friday edition of Spot On with Link Lauren. We're calling it the Friday Spot, but if you want to listen to it on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that is okay with us. But we have a little story that I wanted to get to earlier in the week. I saw it on social media and I thought we have to discuss it. And I love using these little mini episodes on Friday to pick a story that we can have a conversation about, because I don't have all the answers. I'm an expert on nothing, but I have opinions on everything. Okay, so I want to hear from you guys, and I know tons of you are moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, and there's this story about rapper Snoop Dogg, okay? You might know the rapper Snoop Dogg. He also has a show he does with Martha Stewart. He's pretty funny. I'm not too well versed in his music on account of all of this, but I do love Snoop Dogg. So he was on a podcast and he spoke about taking his grandson to see Lightyear, I guess this new Buzz Lightyear movie. And his son started asking him, why does this character have two mommies, and how do they have a baby if there are two mommies? Let's take a look at the clip and then discuss.
I took my grandson to see, what was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's called Lightyear.
Yeah, with Keke Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Keke's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie.
Now, of course, the left-wing activists were saying Snoop Dogg, he's anti-LGBT simply for questioning what is going on in his kid's movie, right? He takes his kid to see a movie. He just wants to take his kid to see a movie. Now he's having to have conversations about biology and maybe how this lesbian couple ended up with a kid and did it happen this way or this way. He's trying to explain all this, and I think there are parents out there now who are having to have discussions with their very young kids that they're not prepared for. And you'd like to be able to take your kid to a film. You'd like to be able to take your kid to see a movie and just let it be a kid's movie. Let it be a kid's movie. And obviously I'm gay. I'm not anti-gay anything, right? But I can understand and empathize with these parents who are taking their kids and just wanting to relax, okay? They want to take them to the movies. They want to get their popcorn. They want to get their Coca-Cola, get some candy, have a nice day out, some afternoon at the movie, at the mall. And the kids are going to ask questions. This is what kids do. They ask questions and they say, well, how did that happen? And how did this happen? And there's nothing inherently wrong, right, with explaining that to a kid, but there are some kids that just maybe they're not mature enough to master the concepts, and you take your kid innocently to a movie and a concept is introduced that maybe your kid's not mature enough for yet. You're not ready to explain to them yet. And I think the parents should be in more control. And so maybe there needs to be some website or a board where they break down these movies ahead of time. I think parents are going to have to start researching more shows and movies to say, what do I think is appropriate for my kid? Because some kids mature at different ages. Some girls mature faster than boys, and everything across the board, it runs the gamut. And something I hear from a lot of my friends who are young moms, I have a lot of friends in their 30s who are having kids, and late 20s, they're starting to have kids. You know, a lot of these shows now, they're on YouTube, they're on streaming services, they're online. They put the kid in front of the TV and they're in the other room, maybe fixing something in the kitchen, and they hear, wait, what's going on? There's now a trans character and there's this. They may not want those concepts introduced to their kids. I don't think you need to be introducing a bunch of LGBT stuff to super young kids, right? Just let them have a fun show where they don't have to have their whole worldview rocked and have to learn a bunch of different things. Let them have a kid's show. And so I think it's tough now for a lot of these parents to find shows for their kids to watch and that they think is appropriate. And I think there's a big gap in the marketplace, actually, for a film studio, a production studio, to make classic shows that are going to be appropriate for kids and appropriate for parents, right? Where you don't have to worry, right? A worry-free viewing experience. And I also worry about these kids who have access to the internet, right? They go on the internet now, they stumble upon something whereas they wouldn't have 10, 15, 20 years ago, and now they have to learn some whole new concept that maybe the parents didn't want them to be exposed to yet. And so I understand these parents, I understand Snoop Dogg, I'm not judging him at all. He's saying what millions of parents are thinking, right? They're trying to find shows for their kids to watch, you know? They'll watch and suddenly there's like a male character having a baby, and kids are like, well, how is the dad having a baby? Why is the dad pregnant? And oh, the dad is trans. It's like, these aren't concepts that little kids need to be exposed to, in my opinion, right? even me, if I had kids someday, I'm not going to teach them all of this stuff when they're super young. If they get older and they want to ask about it, that's fine. But kids' brains are so malleable and they're so impressionable and they're such sponges. Do you want to introduce everything to them so young, right? Let them mature, let them grow up. So Snoop Dogg, of all people, if he has to be the one to really push this conversation ahead, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. And I'd love to hear from you guys. If you're parents or grandparents, is this a concern you have, right? With kids being online, how do you figure out what movie or show is going to be appropriate? Because you might think something is totally appropriate, and then all of a sudden they introduce a male character who's carrying a child, right? Even on the iPhone, I believe there were emojis where you had a pregnant man. So the world is getting crazier. Parents, it is a tough landscape. I hear from so many of my moms and dads out there. They're struggling to figure out what to do with their kids. And you might send them to school and have a radical teacher who's an activist, and they teach your kid all these LGBTQIA, R2D2 concepts you weren't ready for either. But as for you guys, I can't wait to read your comments and to have this discussion. And maybe I'll read some of your messages next week, of course, anonymously, but I want to hear from you guys, and I want to thank you for liking and following and subscribing, and I want you to have an amazing weekend with your loved ones and your families, and if you're alone this weekend, I'm thinking about you, and I love you too. So I will see you on the next one. Bye. I don't know about you, but after I travel, my skin is dry. That's when Peak's Radiant Skin Duo came to the rescue. This doctor-recommended duo, trusted by experts like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Jason Fung, and Dr. Will Cole, supports whole-body wellness from the inside out. Sun Goddess Matcha provides steady, calm energy throughout the day, packed with L-theanine for focus and EGCG antioxidants. It supports skin clarity and gut health. BT Fountain electrolytes hydrate like nothing else and help lock moisture in, making skin look amazing. And Peak ensures all ingredients are free from heavy metals, pesticides, and mold. If you need more hydration, then give Peak a try. Get 20% off plus a free frother and glass beaker here, peaklife.com/link. Again, that's peaklife.com/link.